Hello. I'd like to thank you all for joining this free course on how to start a freight dispatching company. So during this course, we're going to touch on the startup all the way to how to scale your business. So let's get into it. So who we are, my name is Randy. Almost 2 decades in the transportation industry, and I wore a variety of hats within the industry. And then my partner is Moniqua. She has years in business, business structure, operations, and together we form Nyla Logistics LLC. You can see our website at www.nylalogistics.com. Okay, so today this is what we will learn. What is freight dispatching, how to start your business, how to find your carriers, how to book and negotiate the loads in behalf of your carriers, and then how to grow and scale your own dispatching business. So the startup. So what is freight dispatching? Now, as a dispatcher, we actually represent our trucking companies or the owner operator that you're working with. So you're able to find loads and negotiate in their behalf. You can sign contracts with brokers in their behalf. You handle all the paperwork. And that's from the BOLs to the PODs. We're going to touch on these more within the course. You also coordinate the communication. So you have to be a good communicator. You have to be organized in order to be a dispatcher to represent your driver. And your earning potential, 5 to 10% per load. Now you will lock in a rate according to your experience, your expertise, what type of services that you provide. And there's another way to earn, and that could be a set price. And we'll touch on that later. But most dispatchers earn by percentage base per load. So the difference between a dispatcher and a broker. Now the broker works between the shipper and the carrier. So here in this photo, we see a distribution center or a warehouse of some sort. Let's say they make dog food or they store dog food there and then they palletize it and ship it out. So that's what this building would do. It would be the shipper. So the broker will actually call the shipper. They will buy the load and then they will agree to coordinate how to get that load transferred to the receiver. So the broker works with the shipper. Now, we as dispatchers, we work for the carrier. If you see the two trucks here, these are carriers. It could be an owner operator, it could be a small fleet, a big fleet, but we work in their behalf. So the broker is the middleman for the shipper. We are the middleman for the carrier. So we communicate directly with one another. Now, the broker, in order to be a broker, you have to get a broker license and a bond and authority. So it's a lot that goes into that. But to be a dispatcher, all you need is a service agreement between you and your carrier, stating what type of work or services you provide for them, and stating that your carrier will pay you that percentage or set rate of each load that you find. So why you matter as a dispatcher? We'll take some time to look at this to let it sink in. A freight dispatcher plays a critical role in the success and profitability of a trucking operation. While the driver focuses on safely delivering freight, the dispatcher focuses on keeping the truck loaded, negotiating strong rates, minimizing deadhead miles, and handling all communication and paperwork. Without a dispatcher, many owner operators spend valuable driving time searching for loads, negotiating with brokers, and managing administrative tasks, which can reduce revenue and increase stress. A skilled dispatcher brings structure, strategy, and consistency to the operation. They build broker relationships, solve problems quickly, protect the carrier's reputation, and ultimately help maximize weekly gross revenue. In short, a strong dispatcher doesn't just book loads, they help build a stable, profitable trucking business. So this shows how we have value as a dispatcher. And we're going to see how we can structure our business in a way that we show our worth. So what you need to startup costs. So you need an LLC. And really you can start your dispatching company without an LLC, but I highly recommend it because it gives you that professional look and also it protects your personal assets in the case something may go wrong. But with your LLC, you get an EIN number. So now you can track how much your business is making. Along with that, you get a business bank account after you set these things up, a service agreement or carrier agreement that's between you and the carrier, stating exactly what your role is for them and representing them. And then you need phone and internet. So once you have these things, your business can now be in operation. So the startup costs between the business registration, load boards, if you're looking for freight, the biggest load board would be DAT. Um, the driver will have that load board, and then they can assign you as their dispatcher. You may be looking at $99 per month at this time in order to be their dispatcher to have your own sign in. If you're moving cars, the biggest load board is Central Dispatch, which is about 149 a month. But your driver can assign you as a dispatcher at no additional cost. But you need marketing tools. We look at different ways to market. Your website is optional, but I recommend a website because the website, again, gives you that professional look. It allows ones to get in touch with you 24 hours of the day. But also you can set up a business email through your website. So again, that professionalism. Now, if you do not do a website, have a strong social media presence. And if you have a Gmail, I still recommend that you create a professional sounding Gmail. You don't want to have your nickname or these type of inappropriate names that doesn't fit what a dispatcher should have, but you should have an email that represents or let people clearly know what you are doing. So you can start up your business for under $1,000. Realistically, I say under $500. You can have your operations up and going. So marketing, how do we market? How do you find customers? One thing to keep in mind is your carriers are your customers. The owner operators are your customers. So you want to make sure that you are pleasing them. Because if you have no trucks, you have no business. The way we make money as dispatchers is we have to have a truck to move those loads. And we are then charging them. And then they pay us. So if you have no trucks, no business. Again, you could be a percentage-based model. We spoke about the average is 5 to 10%. Just say you start off at 7 or 8%. Every $1,000 load that your carrier moves, if you're at 8%, $80 of that is due to you. So that's, each load, you're taking your percentage. So at the end of the week, you tally it all up, and you shoot your invoice out to your carrier. Another way you could be paid is a set rate. So just say you charge $250 a week per truck. The only way I would recommend this is if you are representing a small fleet. Just say they have 10 trucks and you're charging them $250 per truck. Now you know what you're bringing in each week. Rather they had a great week or a bad week, you know that you made over $2,000 for that week. And actually, some small fleets will prefer this type of payment arrangement for the fact they have so many trucks. They want to know exactly what their expenses are. So other than it fluctuating, they may owe you 1,500 this week and then 3,500 the next week. They'd rather know exactly what their expenses are. So if you do not have a small fleet that you represent, I personally would say a percentage base is the best one. And then a relationship driven model, again, being a good communicator because you're the middleman between the driver and the broker. So both of them need to be pleased in the way that you communicate. The broker and the driver are on the same page if your communication is clear, if it's prompt, if it's consistent. So this is the way you want to model your business. Here are the ways that you find carriers. Um, some people may call it old fashioned, but cold calling. Cold calling is a great way to speak to drivers. There's different websites. You got the FMCSA website, but also you have a number of free websites. Some may have a small fee, but there's plenty of free websites where they compile just every company with an MC or DOT number, and they give you their name of the owner, name of the company, their emails, their address, their phone numbers. And now you can use this to do an email campaign or to actually call them personally and introduce yourself and really sell your business. So it's good to have a cold calling script. If you do that, don't make it too robotic, but at least know what points you want to bring out to sell yourself. Then you have social media. You have Facebook, Instagram, different ways to reach out. Facebook groups is a big one to really um, present yourself, present your business. And of course, you're going to be competing with others, but if you stay consistent, uh, you will catch the eye of some of these carriers. Again, you got email marketing, referrals. Once you lock in that first carrier, that first owner operator, you want to do your very best. And you want to show that you are in a established, a competent, um, just worker, business. You yourself, you're representing your business. You are a business. So when you do a good job for them, they could then refer you to other owner operators that they know. And then this one, the last one is overlooked plenty times, but truck stops. That's where you find drivers. Drivers have to get fuel. They go there for lunch. They go there for a quick break. So you can go to a truck stop. I always recommend to speak to someone on the inside to let them know what you're doing outside. So just ask the manager, hey, is it okay if I pass out my business card to drivers? I'm recruiting drivers. Or you can even present gifts, like small little gifts to hand out with your business card on there. Something like that really catch the eye of these drivers. But again, this gets you face to face where you're able to speak to owner operators and sell yourself. So make sure you represent yourself in the way you present yourself. And I would keep it very brief at the truck stops, but it's a great opportunity. So again, how do you make yourself seem like an established business? And also, how do you show the value that you bring as a company? Increase weekly revenue. With this, when you have an owner operator and they have a decent week, and then the next week they can gross more. So they're paying you more, but they're able to gross, take home more money. you're showing your value. Reducing deadhead miles, we'll touch more on what deadhead miles is if you do not know that term. Your communication, and then also showing that you just know logistics. If you're sending them somewhere, then you have something lined up to come back or a load to pick up, or even knowing what areas are a good area to go to or not. And a lot of the load boards have different features to them where they could show you, what areas are hot. Like they may have a map, 1, 2, 3 load boards, another load board, but they have a map where they would show where a lot of freight is moving. And then it may show in a red where there's not much freight. So you may have a good rate going to, let's say, Florida, but not much freight coming out. So things like that, where they're not sitting too long waiting on the next load, it's showing that you are really good at what you do. And then reliable broker relationships, just to touch on that, you're speaking to brokers, you're locking in loads from these brokers. That should not be the only communication that you have with them. If you run a good load for a broker, you want to get to know them. Ask them if they have a personal number, phone number, or email. And after you run that load, just say you picked up in Dallas, Texas. You know this broker is located there. Ask them if you have more freight coming out of there. Next time you're in the area, can you call them personally? So when you get to know these brokers, they get to hear your voice, get familiar with your name. Then they could call you. Like plenty times with us, we have a broker call us before they even post on a load board because they know that you do reliable work. So these are the type of relationships we want to build. And this is how you can build a lane. So if they have consistent freight coming from Dallas, and they may say, hey, can you move freight how many times a week? And then you can set something up to where your driver have consistent loads moving in a direction. So a lot of drivers like that when they can have a consistent schedule, consistent pay. This is how you build credibility as a dispatcher. Again, a professional email. If you have to go with Gmail, I would have it be, randy.dispatcher@gmail, something like that. Clear contracts. You can look online. There's plenty of free templates or examples of how to put together a carrier agreement or service agreement. Just things that you want to have in there. Have it clear. What days you will invoice your driver. When do you expect them to pay? Have it clear exactly what do you handle in your role as their dispatcher. If they ask you for bookkeeper and it's not in your contract, now you can set up a new contract if you decide to do that for a greater rate. But everything that you do or do not do, it should be in your contract. Knowledge of rates, and really there's plenty of education. We actually educate how to become a dispatcher. We have a course you can look on our website. So we go more in detail on how to find great rates, but the load boards themselves, you can see the average rate that's moving for the day or that week for that lane. But a lot of drivers want to stay over $2 a mile. Certain areas, they want more. And just knowing those things will really show your value. And just being organized in your work. There's different programs that you can buy to help you organize paperwork. Maybe dates that your driver needs a PM or like oil change or renewal of their insurance, or you can set up your own. Just starting off cheap, you can set up like a Excel spreadsheet or a Google spreadsheet and just plug in, just their paperwork, their BOL. That's what they get from the shipper. Once they pick up a load, you can put that invoice in. How much was it? The proof of delivery, put the reference number. So when you build them, you have all this organized. We'll touch more on that here in a second. So any questions, you can reach out to us at nylalogistics.com. And then also, like I mentioned, we have courses that go in greater detail. So you can feel free to purchase a course and join our community. But let's go into section 3, the operations. Understanding load boards. So now we're going to take time to go deeper. We're going to look at examples of load boards and how do you find freight. So again, like I said, DAT, that's a big one. Truckstop.com, that's another big one. So let's get into it. So here's booking a load, step 1 through 4. So you're a dispatcher. You have a driver, owner operator that you're representing. This is how you find them a load. So we have a picture here. Just say they're in Columbus, Ohio. So now you're looking for a load. So step 1, you want to identify your truck location. You want to call them. Make sure that they're ready to go. Make sure they're still in Columbus. They didn't find a load somewhere else, or they're 40 minutes away from Columbus. You want to call them, see their location. Make sure they dropped off their last load, that they're empty. You want to know all these things before you book the next load. So check the lane rate. So now if you look here, at the very top, you see Shoreway Transportation Company. That's not the company you represent. That's actually the broker. They have a load from Columbus to Pineville, North Carolina. Here's the posted rate for $1,700. Again, a lot of drivers like to stay over $2 a mile. When you create your contract with your driver, you can have a questionnaire like, what is your preferred rate? Some may say $2.50 a mile. So if you see this posted rate, it's $1,700. That's for $3.91 a mile. That's a great paying load. So how do we get this load? Well, some details we're going to look at. Now, if you scroll down under that, you got the rate check. If you pay the premium, you can unlock, and it shows like the normal rate that these go for. Now, you can use that when you negotiate if you had to get this price higher. You see the distance, how far it would go. So that's how you see how much it's paying per mile, a $1,700. It's going 435 miles. So if you divide that, it will come out to $391. You see that the trailer type is a van, a dry van. That's the most popular semi-truck trailer that you see. It's just closed walls, just closed trailer. And then the load size is TL, so it's the total load. So you want to look at these things. Also, if you scroll down, you will see the weight. Make sure all that checks out. Now, how do you book the load? If you look next to that at the top, you see Norma. That's the broker. Here's the contact information, the tracking at Shoreway. Here's her phone number. And then if you scroll down, you see the contact, Norma, you see the reference number. So you would now call this broker and you will give your company's information, see if the load is still available, and then book the load. Now, if the load was too low, just say it was paying $800. That's less than $2 a mile. Then you would have to negotiate with her or try to see if you could get it up higher. We actually teach how to negotiate. If you look at our social media, we also have a video on how to negotiate loads. All right, so steps 5 through 8. Once you book a load, they will send you something called a rate confirmation or a rate con. Now, this is going to show where to pick up. It's going to touch on a lot of key information. Now, this is not the load that we just looked at, but let's take a look at this example. So before you sign, you will sign this rate con on behalf of your driver. You want to look at some key information. At the very top, you see the shipper. You want to make sure it's coming from the exact city that the load said when it was posted. So this one's coming from Los Angeles. So you want to make sure that it's not coming from San Jose, California, somewhere close to Los Angeles, but not really. You want to make sure it's coming from that exact city because if it's posted in a small town, that's a deadhead. If your driver's in this city and he has to go to the small town, now he has to drive out empty to go pick this load up. So he's not getting paid for all those empty miles. So you want to make sure it's in the exact city. Also, you see where it's being delivered to. This one's being delivered to Chicago, Illinois. You see that right next to it. So you just want to make sure it's going to the exact city that they said. If it's going to a small town outside of Chicago, you want to see how far it is and make sure all those miles are being paid for. So you may have to adjust the rate. Also, you scroll down on the left side, you can see the commodity. It's electronics. You can see the weight. Make sure the weight fits into the capacity that your truck can handle. And then you see the rate to the carrier. So make sure it's the agreed upon price. Just quick things you want to check on before you actually sign off on this. But before you sign, you may need to run this information past your driver. But if you know it works for your driver, you sign on it, and now the load is yours. If you do not sign, this load is not yours. They can present it to someone else. So you want to check the information over, make sure it's good, sign on it, send it back. And a lot of times you can sign on it electronically. Then you send this information to your driver. A lot of times you can send the address in the text message. You can send like the key information they need, but then also send them a copy of this. And then you're going to track your driver all the way till you get to Chicago. So once you get to Chicago, get a proof of delivery paper, send that to you. You send that to the broker. Now this load is complete, and now you're waiting on payment. All right. So again, you have to negotiate some loads. Here's some key points to take a look at. If it's a bad rate, you never accept the first offer. If they offer $800, but you know you need $1,200, you can't accept it. You want to use the market data again. You can unlock features to where you can look at what that load normally pays. And you want to tell them the rate that the load normally pays. And so you can ask them why are they only offering $800. Different tactics you can mention price of fuel, which is through the roof right now. So right now some places it's well over $5 a gallon. So you can mention that. To go this distance, it's going to cost us S amount of fuel. So we can't break even. We actually need more money. Here's another way you can ask for repeat freight. So once you lock a rate in and your driver delivers that load, again, you can ask them if they have more loads coming from this area. And they always be confident when you are negotiating. You don't want to say, I think I can, or maybe. You want to be firm in what you say. All right. The paperwork that we handle, the rate card, that's what they send to us. After you book a load, it shows all the information. The BOL, once they go to the shipper to pick up the load, the driver, they get something called BOL, the bill of lading. And that's just showing all the information of what's going on to the truck. So they get that, they will send you a copy of that. So then what you will also have is the POD. So once they deliver, they get a POD, a proof of delivery paper, signed, and they'll send you a copy of that. So now you have the rate card, the BOL, shows that they picked it up, and the POD shows that they delivered. You send that to the broker. Now the broker knows that the load is done. They now can process the payment to your driver. Invoicing. So when you send that over, you could create an invoice, how much they owe, and then they can send that. So you would do that as a dispatcher. Now, factoring coordination, a factoring company, It's like a bank for your driver. So a broker has 30 days to pay your driver. So a lot of drivers will actually sign up with a factoring company. A factor company, I'm sorry, it's more like a lending company. So if they sign up with a factor company, the factor company, you would then send them all this information, all the same paperwork. They would pay your driver the next day, but then they would charge a fee to pay them. And then they will wait for the broker to pay the factor company 30 days out. So that way your driver doesn't have to wait 30 days to receive his payment. A lot of drivers, especially starting off, they would pay a factoring company that fee to get paid the next day. So you will coordinate that paperwork. You'll know who the factoring company is because you get that information in your service agreement with your driver, and then you get invoice your broker, and also you send them invoice to the factory company. Again, a lot of information, and we walk through step by step in our course. Um, Communication and problem solving. So this is just what you do as a dispatcher. So your driver can focus on driving and don't have to be on the phone all day. If they're delayed because of weather, they could call you. You call the broker, let them know, hey, unfortunately, we may be an hour behind to our delivery because it's snowing, because the conditions of the road. Um, if they have to reschedule, they're sick, whatever, family problem, we call in their behalf and reschedule or cancel a load, whatever the case may be. But we always protect our carrier's reputation. We never want to call a broker or the place that they're delivering to the receiver and say, hey, our driver, he just don't want to drive today. Sorry, we can't do the load. We never do that. We want to protect their reputation. We want to represent them well each time we do. Our last section would be growth. How do you grow? First, you want to start small. You want to master dispatching one truck before adding more. So that's why I recommend, as a new dispatcher, I would not take on a contract of 5 trucks because you could damage your reputation if you are not able to properly handle these trucks. Because they now, other than referring others, they can actually deter others from reaching out to you. So I would master a truck, get your systems in place. Are you using Google Excel and then moving on to a paid TMS system? Whatever way you're doing it, I would master it. And then if you can take on another truck and then another truck and then another. But again, you want to avoid being overloaded. Increasing revenue per truck. Again, find better lanes. Don't be afraid to say no if a load is just simply not paying enough. Even though it may seem like the perfect load, don't be afraid to say no. The backhaul strategies, again, if your truck is going from Columbus, Ohio to Pittsburgh, PA, you want to check and see how is freight moving in Pittsburgh that day. So once they are leaving, you have something else ready for them to come back home or whatever direction they're going to. Reduce deadhead miles. So again, if a load, say that it's picking up in Zanesville, Ohio, which is an hour away from Columbus, Ohio, just recognize that that's an hour of driving, 60 miles of driving that your driver is not being paid. So you either got to work that into your negotiating, the rate, or try to find loads that's closer for your driver. You want to continue to increase their revenue per week. Try to see each week, what did you do good? What can you improve on? How can you keep your driver moving at a higher rate, more consistent, whatever, and just try to increase until you get to a good a good average for your driver. And then again, repeat brokers. So keep the contacts, keep the communication with the brokers. Building systems, emails, negotiating scripts, load tracking spreadsheets, just all these things you want to do to really make yourself organized. So you should have paperwork laying all around. A lot of your paperwork should be put into a digital form. Even if it's physical paperwork you have, really you shouldn't be dealing with much physical paperwork because if your email or either you want to set up a WhatsApp with your drivers so they can take a picture, send it to you that way, or if they test it to you, you want to then transfer that to your documents, to your files on your on desktop. So you want to just have everything just really automated, just the way that you're running your operation. So it could be smooth. So you don't be disorganized at all. And then how do you expand your business? So you grow from one truck to two trucks to five trucks. Now maybe you realize you can't handle truck number six. So now you can look to train or hire a new dispatcher. Maybe you do a split. So if you're charging 8%, you may pay them 4% or 5%. And you take care of all the background, the marketing, bringing them new trucks, the invoicing. You take care of that yourself, but you're paying them to dispatch. Also, your operations, you may decide to add bookkeeping. So you may hire someone specifically for bookkeeping. Just say you're dispatching five trucks and they all want bookkeeping. You could charge them additional 2%, 4%, per load for bookkeeping or a set rate, and then hire someone and give them a percentage of that. Um, and then building your brand. That's how you grow as well. Uh, you want to you want to invest money into your marketing. You want to invest money into the presentation of your website, your business cards, things like that, and it will help your name to continue to be out there, and also for your face to be known. Here's my final advice. Again, I want to thank you for joining this free course. Again, you can look at our website and see what we do offer. We have packages to where we help you step by step how to set up your business, how to grow, how to be part of the community with other dispatchers and also truck drivers within our communities. You can ask advice there. You can share your experiences. But my final advice to you is to know that consistency beats motivation. You can have all the skill sets. You can be motivated. You can say this is your year to become an entrepreneur. You could buy all the equipment, but if you're not consistent in your marketing, consistent in setting up your systems, consistent once you do get a driver to be organized on top of communication, then your business will fall apart, like many businesses do. Because a dispatch business is no different than any other business. Starting it off, you're going to have to put in the work, the sweat, the tears to really get it where it need to be before it can grow to what you want it to be. Protect your reputation. So again, you don't want to be overloaded because if you take on too many trucks and can't handle it, or if you promise a driver something that you just cannot perform, that again can affect your reputation. Master your lanes, get to know the load boards, watch videos, join our program, see how to really work the load boards, how to negotiate with brokers, how to have the most precise routes for your drivers. Stay organized, build relationships. Don't be intimidated by these brokers. Get to know them. Even if you have to say no to a broker, you can let them know. if your rates ever go up, here's my phone number, here's my email, reach out to me. But you want to build these relationships because, again, these brokers will reach out to you before they post it on a load board if they know that you do reliable work. So just do not give up. Just keep going. Educate yourself some more if need be. But the biggest thing is to go. Just go after your dream. Be after it. So I want to thank you again for joining, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. Here's some information that we could give if you need just more guidance now. If you don't want to join a course at this moment, we do have ebooks. So we have a simplified step by step or a beginner's guide to success, which is a more, um, I guess, extensive book, but more detailed book. So you can find that at nylalogistics.com/store. I thank you for your time.